hello, 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 hello. It is We Got Issues. It is We Got Issues, and we got issues to talk about today. It is your girl, Caterina Harris Earl, and I am excited to say, those of you that have been following me all last week, I'm excited to say that I am back in California. Yay! Arrived safely. We will not take that for granted. So grateful. My father-in-law is good, and I am good, and I'm so excited to be home. We do have a show today, and honestly, it is not an exciting show at all. It is very somber, and every one of us could cry just thinking about it. We're going to be talking about when is enough enough. I mean, can we just get a day where there's not just one report, not just two reports, 3 or 4 reports that are taking place about unarmed Black men or Black folks that have been shot by police. And we're going to bring you this today. Of course, I just want to hear, it was past the weekend, so I want to hear from the girlfriends. What did you do this weekend before we get deep into the topic? Sabrina, how was your weekend? You're looking gorgeous. That red lipstick is popping. I know the radio audience can't see it, but you're looking gorgeous. So talk to us.
Thank you, Caterina. We're just so glad that you're back, that you and Anthony and Daddy got back across country safe and sound. We loved watching you travel the highways and byways and get back safely. Quite honestly, my weekend was pretty uneventful. It was kind of quiet. I worked on some tax stuff, which I cannot stand, but it's what we have to do. And I'm so glad that I got that done and had some quiet time. I really was feeling a little out of sorts, so needed to organize and get quiet, get still, and be ready for Action April in my business and in life. So it was all good. It was all good. Gloria Mayfield Banks, how are you, my friend?
Woo! It's so good to be here with you guys. Can you believe we make it from Friday to Monday like this? And what a topic to talk about. What a topic to talk about. I'm asking you guys to lean in with us and help us with the tough yet real conversation. My weekend was amazing though, y'all. Really, my weekend was amazing. I went from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, then I went on to Pensacola. I was with Tony, who was our guest. That was at our house. And I mean, we had great conversation, phenomenal weather, except for a big storm that came in. And then it came out like Florida, rain, and then beautiful sunshine. But y'all, seriously, have you ever gone to a girlfriend's house and come home to your house and like, oh man, I don't know how to cook like she cooks. Oh man, I don't know how to decorate like they decorated. Oh man, I don't live in that kind of sunshine like they live in. So, I come home grateful, but trying to expect different. I ran to Whole Foods, y'all. I saw all these recipes. I ran to Whole Foods. I was going to make this. I was going to make that. I was going to make this. I was going to do that. I bought this. I bought that. Then I went immediately to the prepaid soup and bought the prepaid soup, came home and reheated it up. Because that is not my wheelhouse. That is not my superpower. But that Southern cooking can get to you. We will go on later talking about food, because food is something else. But right now we got a hot topic, and it's amazing to go to my hometown, Detroit, to talk to Crisette Ellis. Chris, are you there? Are you there?
I am here. Hey, girlfriends, how you guys doing? It's so good to see you every week. I mean, who gets the chance to be with their girlfriends Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m.? I mean, it's always such a joy to see you guys. My weekend was pretty good. Had to go to a funeral of a friend of mine who battled cancer for so long. When I tell you, she just taught so many lessons in how she battled it. And so I had to attend her funeral. And then from there, many of you know that I am house hunting. So spent Saturday going from this property to this property looking. And you know what? It's so interesting when you're looking for a house. You're out there looking and it has everything except for one thing. You're like, this would have been it if it just hit this one thing. And so, it is what it is. But again, I'm grateful to have some place to lay my head. And I'm telling you, with everything that's going on in our country, you know what? You have to learn how to count your blessings, to be thankful and to be grateful. So it's all good. It's all good. So I am really can't wait to talk about this topic. I mean, my heart is just so heavy on today, if truth be told, just because of everything that's going on. So can't wait to hear from our special guest on today. I'm going to throw it back to Caterina.
Well, y'all, I mean, Chris, I didn't even get to really even tell you guys that I lost a friend to cancer, a dear friend. And this is what's taken place, y'all, is that there's so much tragedy happening this morning. I mean, I'm like a hot mess right now, just to be honest, because I spent 2 hours with a really dear friend of mine, just, helping her, supporting her, being a listening ear. And I'm so grateful for you guys being that in my life. There's so many people, y'all, that are dealing with so much pain. And I cannot imagine what another mother who, the sadness goes to anger, goes to just, and so we have an expert today. Chris is going to introduce our guest today, but I just wanted to, for those of you that are watching, on Facebook, you will see, I mean, Rayshard Brooks, 27, y'all, fell asleep at the car, blocking the drive-through lane at a fast food restaurant. Daniel Pride, we don't even have time to go through each of these names, but he had run into the street naked while experiencing a mental health episode. George Floyd, we know, allegedly tried to use a counterfeit bill. Breonna Taylor, asleep at home. Ariana Jefferson, 28 years old, at home. It goes on. We just say the names of Ara Rosser. We say the name of Stephon Clark. We say the name of Bothan Jean. We say the name of Philando Castile. We say the name of Alton Sterling. These are not all the names, y'all, but these are the names we say today. Michelle. We say the name of Freddie Gray. We say the name of Janisa. It goes on and on. Familiar story. Eric Garner, allegedly selling loose cigarettes. We say the name of Akai Groley. Gabriella Navarez, y'all, driving. Tamir Rice, playing with a toy gun in the park. Michael Brown, 18, walking with a friend. These are not just, these are names for us, but they are family members and people that just, if they were white, we ask, would they still be alive and be with us? And so we certainly are not today talking about and coming from a place that all cops are bad cops. We know that is not the case, but something is taking place in America and we have got to fix it. How many more deaths must happen without cause? I've been watching the George Floyd case. I'm sure many of you have caught it. Some people choose not to watch it because it's so painful, but I cannot imagine what the defense, the lies they are going to have to tell and the diversion they are going to have to use, to attempt. And I cannot imagine what would take place if he is not found guilty. And so, Chris, I'm so grateful. We had another topic today in true transparency, locked, sealed, ready to go. And today, immediately, I'm like, if we post one more thing, we're changing the topic. And so I'm so grateful, Chris, that you reached out to your cousin and that he is a guest today. So we could just open up and have a real live conversation. Girlfriends, tribe, those of you listening to 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, we want to hear from you. You can call us at, I've been gone so long, 313-778-7600. I was trying to be on vacation, but now I'm just back in it. So we want to hear from you. Please give us a call. Chris, would you introduce our guest to us today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys, I'm so glad that we have someone who is experienced. And when you're tackling a conversation like this, you want someone that is a professional, someone that has worked in that area that can lend their wisdom to the conversation. So I am pleased and excited to introduce to you and those of you that are in the Detroit metropolitan area. Of course, you know who he is. He is our newly appointed Wayne County Sheriff. And we know that is Sheriff Washington. Those of us who know him really, really well, we call him Ray. But today, because he's our guest, we're going to call him Sheriff Washington. Yes, you guys, when I tell you this awesome sheriff has been in law enforcement for 38 years. He's been with the Detroit Police Department for 24 years. He's been 14 years with the Wayne County Sheriff Department. He has his criminal justice degree. And we're excited that he'll be finishing his master's degree in just a few. He's an expert instructor. He actually was my instructor. And so I have my CPD license. And so hopefully,
CPL.
CPL. Okay. My CPL.
Yes.
Thank you. My CPL license. So, you know, he gave it to me. I worked for it. So, but we're excited to have him on today. Again, he definitely has been in law enforcement for a long time. And I'm sure this is not the first event that he's been called upon to lend his expertise and just to have a real conversation about what is going on in our country. And so, Ray, before I turn it back over to Caterina, one of the things that I was thinking about today as we listen to what just happened again in Minnesota, and of course, our thoughts and our prayers are with Dante Wright's family. I can't even imagine what his mother is feeling, having talked to him when the incident was going on. But one of the things that I just don't understand is what they call weapon confusion, the difference between a taser and a gun. And this isn't the first incident where a police officer has said, oh, I thought I was pulling my taser, and they pulled a gun. So can you kind of explain to us, how can those two things be confused?
Well, can you hear me, first of all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to try to explain how this works or how it didn't work or what went wrong as best I can from just experiences of hearing about these things, not being involved directly myself. But nevertheless, when we talk about weapon confusion, you know, we put things in place to make sure that we don't have that type of confusion. And how this happened, I really can't tell you. I've heard a time or two where someone has pulled a taser and pulled a gun and they thought it was a taser. But very simply, when we go through these taser training, and I've gone through it, and we talk about how we're supposed to wear the weapon and how we place it on our body so that we don't become confused with what's a taser and what's a weapon. I don't know if you know, when we go through this training, and we go through training every year, so we have to be recertified every year about how we use the taser. I don't know how this confusion happens. When we put this taser on our body, we put it on, obviously, on the opposite side of where our weapon, our real gun would be. We put it on the opposite side of our body, and then we turn it a different way, so it's not even positioned as it would be a regular gun. It's almost backwards, if you can imagine, because we don't want this kind of confusion. So when that happens, I really can't tell you what's going on in people's minds, other than the fact, as I think about it over and over again. When people are afraid for whatever reason, they do what they do to combat that fear, whatever it is. If someone is being pulled over for a traffic stop, or not even a traffic stop, because that's too simple, but some kind of stop where it's going there, where they know there's going to be some kind of situation or consequence for them. Once that stop is completed, or once that investigation is completed, they do what they do, which is try to run and escape. Sometimes, and sometimes people just run because they're afraid of what may happen with the police officers, even though it's nothing to it. But people do what they do when they're scared, and some people run. For some officers, unfortunately, when they're in a situation and they think that they're in some kind of trouble or some kind of situation where it's going to go bad for them, and they're scared. If they're scared, then they do what they do when they're scared. And that may be pull a gun, unfortunately. And maybe that's what happens too often when they have these things going through their mind. I'm scared, I'm afraid something's going to happen, and I pull my gun. I put my hand on my weapon, and I pull it, and I use it. And I watched that film a couple of times a day, and I didn't even know about it I've been so engrossed in work that I didn't even watch TV or hear anything until I got home and my wife told me about it. And then my cousin Crisette, called me and asked me about it, being on the show. And I started turning the channels and watching the clip of what happened. And I'm looking at this police officer and I'm looking at her pointing a gun that looks nothing like a taser. Looks nothing like a taser. I mean, it looks like a gun that I have that I wear every day. And that's why I zoomed right in on it. I'm like, how are you confusing that with a taser? A taser, first of all, again, is strapped on the other side of your body. So if something happens, I'm right-handed. If you can imagine, I'm right-handed. I'll pull a gun out if I need to use it, and I'm pulling it out, and I'm using it like that. I have to reach across my body. It's the opposite way. Pull it out, and then turn it around and point it. I have to do a few things to get the taser out. So how you even confuse that with being a gun, I have no idea. And again, as I've had to pull my weapon a time or two in 38 years, if you can imagine, as you can imagine. And I'm pulling my weapon and I'm looking at my gun. I'm looking at my gun. I'm looking down my gun because whatever it is that I'm acquiring a target, I want it to hit what I think I'm getting ready to hit. So I'm looking down my gun. I'm not looking past it necessarily. And so I don't even know how this confusion even happened. I can't justify it. I wouldn't try to justify it. And you know, to talk often is, well, if the person had have done this, and if the person had have done that, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. And I'm not even having that conversation anymore because it gets to the point of, and I want people to comply to different things because I want my sons to comply to different things as they're 35 and 33 and they're in that almost in that getting out of that age bracket, but in that bracket where they could be seen as a threat. I just want them to do what the officer says because unfortunately we're talking about as that was a traffic stop. So I found out and then found out it was some kind of warrants or traffic warrants or something that was caused them to want to use their discretion to lock the young man up, 20-year-old up. I don't know how it turns to something like that, even though the person tried to, obviously he was trying to get away. But you're using a weapon or even a taser when you have some policies say that you use your taser when people are not complying. And so you want to get them to comply. But again, in that situation, I wasn't there, but I've been in those situations a lot by myself. I worked 14 years in what we call a motorcycle unit, a traffic enforcement unit by myself.
Wow.
And never had in the city of Detroit and never felt like I needed to do something like that, even when I've had to restrain someone for whatever reason until I got some help there or until they calm down. I've never thought that I need to, use a weapon. And so,
right.
Sheriff Washington, we have 1 minute before we go to break. And
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
want to
rattling
talk.
too much.
No, you're not rattling. We want to hear about it.
Yes,
we want to hear, honestly, I'm so grateful that you're on because we can all talk about this from emotion, but you can talk about this practically. Black people were 28% of those killed by police in 2020, despite being 13% of the population. So when we come back, we want to talk about what is this police reform look like? What can we do? Yes. What are the solutions? And how can we begin to tackle this issue collectively so we can change these statistics? Please call us at 313-778-7600. I believe Michael is about to take us to a break. I don't hear the music yet, but there we go.
It's here.
All right.
Sheriff, you are doing a great job. You are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Okay, love the story.
I just have to remember radio that, we got to get it in and out, and that's the thing about radio.
We'll guide you right through.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff Ray with us today. We felt it was important, very, very important. And so as you guys have questions, 313-778-7600. We want to hear from you. And so it's tragic. It's unfortunate. Can you imagine Dante's family being told, his parents being told, his girlfriend and his baby being told that he won't be coming home?
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to right when we come back from the break.
It's tough. And so as we think about police reform and how we can do our part better. I mean, I have a 21-year-old, I have a 23-year-old, and honestly, I'm just so nervous when they go out right now. You know, they're the age where they have a social life and they're going out, and it's just very troubling on my mind. What do you guys think? You're I'm going over here to the Facebook page to see what you're saying, how you're saying it, how you're feeling. Are you watching the news? I mean, he had an expired tag. The Department of Motor Vehicle clearly stated there are no expiration dates for tags registration due to COVID. He should have never been pulled over. That's right. And now they're saying that they believe he was accidentally murdered. How do you explain that to a family? Oh, I'm sorry. It was an accident. You guys, we have got to do something different. Our Black Lives Matter. We got to call for police reform fast and in a hurry. What are your thoughts? Type in the chat. What do you think? Okay, Shri, thank you for that scripture. We appreciate the sheriff's honesty, his transparency. And now I think we're going back to the station. Talk to y'all in a minute.
All righty. Well, we are back. We are back from the break. You have got the Force of Friendship. Please be sure that you visit I think I need a couple people to mute. Please be sure that you follow us on theforceoffriendship.com and follow us on social media. We are about to go to a caller in just a moment. You are on We Got Issues with Caterina, Sabrina, Crisette, and Gloria. And today we have our special guest, Sheriff Raphael Washington. And we are looking forward to hearing more of his expertise. The chat is jumping off the hook. But right now, we're about to go to the phone lines. Gloria's got me. We're going to go to the phone lines and we are going to hear from Linda. Linda, are you there? We Got Issues with this very important topic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda, for calling in. Can you talk to us, Linda? What's on your heart? What's on your mind?
What's on your heart? What's on your mind? When is enough enough?
You know, I just feel like we can never get stopped and have a conversation and try to figure out what's going on. Because I looked at the video with the young man that had served the country, and he was just trying to say, what did I do? He had his hand out the window. And my car, and I've looked at videos where another set of people have some things, pushed them out, and all kind of stuff. But yet these people don't get the harsh treatment as we do. And I think it's so sad. And there is a young man talking to his mom about insurance, and this person now want to make this excuse that they pulled out of.
Linda.
I drove a 2000 Jaguar. I fell because I had bras in my legs. Son had took it to the hospital. We took the emergency room. He went and got people instead of parking the car. The police stopped him and said they thought the car was a car that had been stolen. No reason to stop him. After they did that, they snatched the car. I left the emergency room, went to the police station, and the first thing the police told me, oh, you bought that car for your son. I said, no, I didn't. Oh, you must sell drugs. I said, no, I did not. Now, I'm a senior, and they snatched that car from me, sold it. I had the paperwork and everything, and yet I don't feel like they treated someone else like that.
Absolutely.
I really don't. So I just think it's always a double standard when it comes to us to talk about sin. And I'm just sick of it. I'm not trying to go out to that mother. That mother is grieving. And you would think that by now we can at least have a conversation when you pull us over. But we're not respected like that. We can't say anything. They holler at us. They scream at us. It's never what we can say, officer, what is the reason for you stop? You know, and I think it's sad. So I just think it's a good conversation. Thank you, ladies. You're doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate you taking the call.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. And we're so sorry that happened to you. But unfortunately, we know that there are so many people particularly Black folks that could talk about stories like that have taken place for them for no reason. So I'm just grateful. Thank you for calling in, Linda. We are going to hear from our special guest. And right before we do, we're going to go to our next caller, and we want to hear what's on your mind. We've got Walter on the line. Walter, can you talk to us on We Got Issues?
So I tell you what, I'm an African-American conservative Republican. I voted for Trump, and I do believe there's a balance. Much as I take up for police officers, in this case, it's not making it look too good, because I don't know how you can get a taser and a gun mixed up like that. You know, and another, I don't know what the person was shot for. I hope it wasn't nothing serious, except if it was just domestic or something like that, but nobody deserves to get shot in a situation like this, regardless of what color they are.
Well, Walter, apparently it was a registration, and during COVID, they have even suspended the giving people more grace with their registration. So it's possible that he shouldn't have even been pulled over. Wouldn't you agree, Walter? You know, we respect everyone's different political opinions, but wouldn't you agree this really is not political? This has to do with life and death. Because if it comes down to, you know, you as a Black man, they could care less whether you are Republican or Democrat. All color is what we see. Wouldn't you agree?
And it's funny you mentioned about the registration during this coronavirus. They have been suspended. And you know what? I mentioned that this morning. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Mm-hmm. And man, you made a good point there. I tell you what, and it's the only time the Republicans and Democrats get united on certain things. It's like with George Floyd, and maybe in this instance right here. But anything else political, I'll just keep it to myself. But I'm with you guys on this. Let's still gotta let it play out, see what happens. But man, that's not making me look too good for taking up for these police officers. And by the way, there are some rotten police officers out there. I mean, I'm an equal opportunity to call her out. I don't care.
Well, we appreciate your perspective. We appreciate you calling in on We Got Issues. We're so grateful. We're going to go to one more caller, and then I'm going to pass it to my girl Sabrina to ask our guest, Sheriff Ray, another question. And so we've got one more caller, Michael. We've got Terrence on the line. We appreciate hearing from the men today. Terrence on We Got Issues. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm walking. I'm up. Able to take care of myself, so I'm well.
Amen.
Amen. Let me tell you something. The Black male in America is really an endangered species. Now, I don't want to equate us as no animals or nothing like that, but I would put us in the same classification because we don't get no respect from the police. We try to kill and maim each other. We do that in a heartbeat. We do that even before the police do something to us. And it's just not right. But look, that's a different subject all in all. But when you're talking about this incident with this police officer and what they did to a Marine serving in the military, not only does it border on absurd, it's almost crazy.
Over some window tint, right? Window tint.
Yeah. This man was in full uniform. Okay. Now, he had a right to be afraid for his life. He had a right to drive to that gas station in a lighted area because they slaughter Black men when they're defenseless in an area that's not lit. But it's shameful.
It is.
It's absolutely shameful and absurd. Here it is in 2020. A Black male between the ages of 15 to 50, you literally cannot drive down the road in a nice car with tinted windows unless your life is in danger.
I mean, absolutely. And there's not a mama out there with, of course, we know this affects both men and women, but particularly Black men. And there's not a mama out there who would not be concerned just about normal every day, going to get a pack of gum, some cigarettes, going to, just driving down the street. So we appreciate you for calling in. I appreciate you for calling in. I'm going to go to my girl, Sabrina. We do have another caller that's on hold, but we want to, Sabrina, what's a question that you can ask Sheriff Ray just to add into the conversation, and then we will go to Drea, who's on hold.
Okay, excellent. Sheriff Ray, thank you for being with us. This came across my desk today. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. And this is how I'm feeling. It says, because there is too much to say, because I have nothing to say, because I don't know what to say, because everything has been said, because it hurts too much to say. What can I say? What can I say? Something is stuck in my throat. Something is stuck like an apple. Something is stuck like a knife. Something is stuffed like a foot. Something is stuffed like a body. This continues to hurt. The NAACP president says, whether it be carelessness and negligence or a blatant modern day lynching, the result is the same. Another Black man has died at the hands of police. And so, Sheriff Washington, we just thank you for being here, a man of color. We know your job is not easy. We thank you for protecting the community. How do we get better? What can we do as citizens? I have a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old, and they're of college age. They go out, they have friends, and I've never been on my knees like on my knees right now when they go out, asking God to please bring them home safely, protect them. And so I did get this app, and I want the listeners to hear about this app. It's a mobile justice app from ACLU, and it is an app that records. You just push a button. It's a free app, and it's called the Mobile Justice app. Everybody download this app. Hopefully it's in your state, and you just press that button, and it immediately sends a recording to ACLU. If the police trash it, throw it away, burn it, at least they have something to work with. I want to ask, what are our rights, Officer Washington? Sheriff Washington, is it okay? Because I understand that in this last episode with Dante, they told his girlfriend to stop recording. I hope I have the right case right in one of these recent cases. And they said, you have to stop recording. But I thought it was our right that we could record. Can you shed light on that, please?
Yeah, I wouldn't know why any officer would have a problem with someone recording them. We're recording the people, obviously, if we have the mobile body cams. We're recording, so why wouldn't they have a right to record? If they can place that recording device wherever it would be, or in plain sight of the officer, and they're not handling it, because obviously we don't want you handling things if there's an investigation taking place. But I would welcome it if someone had a recording device and they wanted to record me. I'm recording them, so it is your right. I mean, I don't know of anything that says a citizen can't record. We see citizens recording on the street all the time, our actions and what we're doing. So that doesn't even come into play. You do have a right to record, and you can.
I'm so grateful that clarification made that clear. I'm so grateful you made that clear. And we love the fact that you gave us the app. We appreciate that. We're going to go to the phone lines and hear from Drea. The phone lines are burning up today, literally, because this is so much of an important topic. So Drea, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. So please share with us.
Because, first of all Black lives matter. But when you're saying when is enough was enough when Trayvon Martin was killed by that man just walking across the street getting some Skittles and a soda. Mm-hmm. Enough was enough when you have to tell your little boy that's 8 years old to stand still and don't run because you might get shot in your back. Mm-hmm. Enough is enough when I have to tell my brother, don't go and get your registration out your car. Wait till the police officer comes up. Have your hands up so he can see them and say, I am not armed. That's enough. When you have to worry about your Black men, young, old, middle age, and you have to worry about them. My husband's a truck driver. I have to worry about him out on the road if a cop stops him or they're going to shoot him. am I going to have him come home to me because he's a black man? So to me, enough is enough. But I respect the officers that are out there to do their job and do what they're supposed to do, that protect us. I have all respect for them.
Well,
Enough is enough when I have to be afraid for my own life. Is a cop going to do something to me?
Absolutely, Drea. We so appreciate you. Gloria, I'm going to ask you to jump in. What would you say after hearing what we've talked about thus far?
I think that what I am so moved about
Gloria,
now.
you have to unmute.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me? Nobody can hear me?
I hear you
on the radio.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
So we're going to go.
Hey,
Gloria,
Caterina.
Go ahead,
While
Chris.
we're waiting on Gloria, I have a question, and this is something that I'm totally confused on. Ray,
yes.
When an officer pulls you over for a traffic violation, or he's pulling you over, do you have the right to ask that officer, why are you pulling me over? Can they just tell you to get out? They don't tell you why they're pulling you over. Just get out the car. I thought that when they pulled you over, they had to tell you the reason why they're pulling you over. But in a lot of these instances, they don't even respond when the driver asks, officer, why are you pulling me over?
Yeah. So again, different states, different policies. I don't know and that's why we talk about sometimes we need to have a uniform policy in this country for some things. And I know for a fact that officers in this area must tell you why they're pulling you over. And oftentimes we want it to be the very first thing they talk about, even before asking for a driver's license and things. But what happens is sometimes officers are afraid that if I start talking to you about, well, the first thing a citizen wants, why did I pull you over? And then there's a debate going back and forth, and they haven't even obtained the credentials for that person to have the privilege to drive. And so officers often will ask for your driver's license and registration and proof of insurance, and to secure those things first so that I could at least, when we have a conversation about why I pulled you over, I have your credentials, and now it's not escalating into something else because I don't have your credentials, and now we're arguing or talking about or discussing why I pulled you over. So we ask for those credentials, and then we talk about why it is that I pulled you over, and that has to be the conversation, and it is your right to know why I pulled you over. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you. This is such an important topic, and we've got 3 or 4 callers on the line. We want to try to get to all of you, so we appreciate your comments. Gary, we're going to go to Gary. Would you please comment for us on We Got Issues? When is enough enough?
Well, it's been enough, and the difference is, Ray, you need to turn your volume up on your phone or come closer to the phone when you answer. Ray, you're a Christian. Your overtone is different than the average officer who don't act like it. And my concern is, you came into everybody be saved or go to church. The overtone of the sheriff should be echoed throughout a department. And if all of these arrogant pullovers that we see, that we can't even believe when we see, this guy's in a uniform. And I told my nephew, we were driving to New Orleans for the National Baptist Convention one time. They don't give a damn, and we had just had a shooting of a military guy by a police. That guy was in his uniform. Sometimes they're not, and they don't ask. And no matter, First Lady, no matter what question is right, and this is what I tell my son, you don't know what issues that officers having mentally or socially. You made this, we got to teach our southern daughters, you ain't got to do nothing wrong. Trayvon Martin wasn't an officer, but, a criminal right. And all of us feel that sometimes they can just shut up, but sometimes even shutting up is not enough. And you are scared. You are, all of us are still scared. I don't know when you're in a town, Ray, if you think about it, because they may not get a chance to say, are you the sheriff, or are you the chief, or are you whatever? Because right now it's such and I call them punks. I remember when I lived in Vegas and they shot a little 18-year-old boy in the back ridiculously, running in the back. And I know in police academy, I know way back they said to us, you can't shoot a fleeing felon.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't a fleeing innocent person. That's a fleeing felon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the rules change, but now we can shoot people just because you got a badge. My concern for our community is what are we going to do about the residency laws? Because what half of the problem is, I had a good incident on Illinois, so let's talk about some of the good too. I had a black officer where I was parked, where somebody couldn't get around me. When I came out there, he had this his months up, and here's my ID, here's my everything. He came back to the car and looked at me and grunted, and then because I was nice and polite, he didn't give me a ticket or anything, but he had to prove that he was in charge.
Mm-hmm.
I think too many times, Ray, the officer just got these egos, man. They got these doggone egos. It's pathetic. I think if the department would send the overtone, and it might be getting to some of them, but we can see from the guy in Virginia, it ain't getting to all of them. If you kill somebody, the department's not just going to be behind you. And Ray, that fighting these unions got to be held for any chief right now or any sheriff, because ladies on the line, our sons and daughters at jeopardy because of what we want these unions, but these unions in the police realm, it's ridiculous. I had a Wayne County sheriff at the airport put me in jail up under somebody's name. Yeah, under somebody else's name. Wow. Many people know it still took me going to court up under somebody's name, going downstairs, and all the officers, all the sheriffs that I ran into, and I got to say, they were all nice. They know you're still in lockup. And I still stayed there 21 days under somebody else's name until the judge came back and said, oh, we know it ain't him. So I'm going to end with this. We got to teach each other and our children. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be doing nothing wrong. You got to do everything you can to just, I hate to say it, but you got to please this stupid person's attitude.
Gary, we are so grateful for your perspective. I mean, you brought so much to light. And once again, I can't apologize for them, but I'm so sorry that happened to you. We are so sorry. We are going to give Sheriff Ray, I hope that the volume and the connection was a little bit choppy before, so hopefully, but I'm going to want to give you an opportunity to respond to Gary. Gary, I thank you for your perspective, and I thank you for calling in to We Got Issues. Sheriff Ray, what would you say in response to Gary?
So a couple of things Gary said. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
we got you good now.
So a couple of things Gary said I do want to respond to, and one was that these officers who are out here doing the wrong thing, we as supervisors in our agencies, we have to call these officers out.
I hope this works. Can you hear me?
We know exactly who they are, and the fact that we don't do the things that we need to do in a timely manner to reel them in and do what it is that we need to do to get their attention. That's our fault. And we like when citizens talk to us about an officer has done this and the same officer has done that and another officer, then the same officer has done the next thing. When you hear enough of that, we have to bring those people in and we have to deal with those situations. Else we're either going to pay at the end or we can get it done in the front. And so that's what I say as supervisors, we have to call those people out. Secondly, what Gary said was, and I feel strongly about, although it became a constitutional issue and the right to be able to live where you want to live. When we lost the residency, we lost a lot, because when I had to live in the city that I policed, and I had to make sure that it made me want to and have to police the right way. When I was going to see that person's parents at church, or I was going to run into them at the supermarket, or they lived down the street from me, that made me police the way that I was supposed to police, because you don't want to face the fact that you're doing something wrong and then you have to run into these people in your community. But when we lost that, and you can live in Chicago and work in Detroit if you can get the roll call in time, that's the situation. And I mean, not necessarily in another state, but you know, you can live 20, 30 miles from where you're policing. I think that you need to reflect the community that you serve. And that means whether if it's a predominantly minority city, we should have at least half or more of that same demographic. So because we know pretty much how, you know, I used to always say, when I would run into the young guys when I worked in gang squad, and they'd say to me as an officer, you know, oh, dog, you know, I ain't mean to do that. I know that you're not disrespecting me. That's for you, for that young brother. That's a term of endearment. But if you're not used to that kind of language and hearing that in the community that you serve, and you come here for 8 hours and you go 50 miles away to live, it's hard for you to understand that he wasn't disrespecting you. And one thing leads to another and another. And so I truly believe we lost a lot when we lost residency. Some people feel differently, but and the state said that you didn't have to live where you policed, and so that's the way that is. But I think we're paying for some of that because of that.
Sheriff Washington, we so appreciate you, and it just gives us hope hearing you and knowing that there are so many good police officers, but we must deal with this because, of course, it is life and death for so many of us in the Black community. We're going to go to another caller. We're so grateful for all of the callers that have called in and lent to this conversation. Brother Bay, we want to hear from you. We got issues. Your comment or your question?
I can say, babe, I'm sorry that incident happened to the young man. Me being 62 years old, I haven't been stopped by the police a lot. But I can remember back in the 80s when I was a younger man, I had police pull a pump shotgun on me in pocket, and I wasn't really committing a crime, just doing a little drinking. I had a black police officer pull a gun on me in downtown Flint, me and some other people from drinking and wine. Now they're drinking on the sidewalks downtown in every city. So, you know, a lot of these black police officers, they got in their mind that if you're a black man, you're running some type of game on them, and they figure because they the same way, they know the game, and most of them that I met, they just square as can be. They either had some type of problem in school, you know, a bully, or they were bullied as a child, or the parents mistreated them. So when they get up, or when they get a badge, some of them just go to their head. And as far as I happened to see that today on the news, it said it happened last year about the military officer.
Absolutely.
He was stopped because he didn't have a license plate on his car, and he had the sticker was in the window. In Michigan, I don't know, he wasn't in Michigan. In Michigan, in most states, you're allowed to have 35% tint on your car. You can have all your windows tinted besides the front driver's window and the front window and the side window. So if you got a prescription, you can have all your windows tinted. So a lot of that tint stuff is just a reason to stop people. I don't see these 10 or 15 cars in Michigan with no plates at all on them. And the reason they ain't stopping nobody is because it's all about money. They can't make no money. I mean, you get on you can't go to court. The court's closed. So half of the people in Michigan, I don't know about the other states, don't have no license plate on their car. Nobody is getting stopped. And as far as the black man, and the black man in the uniform is a threat. Even though I was in the Army at one time, 1979, tank driver, Fort Knox. And I was just wearing camouflage casually to the stores, just volunteering. I had a few young Europeans question me where I've been and why I got this on. That was before camouflage got popular. Now everybody got it. The babies got it, women wear it. It's camouflage everything from the top to the bottom. And this supposed to have been a police officer. He's really trying to insult the brother because you don't know ranks and you're a police officer. You're supposed to be taught that. A sergeant or corporal, because he was calling him corporal, was got stripes on his sleeves, and the officer usually wear bars or something on his collar. So he really was just insulting. World War I, II, black man was getting hung in uniforms when they came home. You can see some of the old pictures on YouTube. And even Hitler, when fighting Hitler, some of the black soldiers couldn't even eat with the officers. They would let the German prisoners eat with the officers.
Brother Bay.
In the war. So all kind of stuff went down. But brother, the uniform is a threat. We need a real army where black folks can protect themselves. So in my mind, I done had my funeral before I left home, because I'm not gonna let one of these cops make me so fearful where they rub off on my children, where they go out there and be so scared of police in the street, where they do something crazy.
Brother Babe, I mean, you said a lot. You said a lot, and I've lived in Oakland, predominantly black area. I've lived in the suburbs, and it is absolutely true that you get more tickets, more pulled over just driving the same car in two different neighborhoods. It's a different experience. As we drove across the country, I was honestly concerned in some cases. When we were driving through South Dakota and Wyoming, I told my husband, this is not the place to get stopped. And so I am going to pass it to, we want the girlfriends to jump in. Gloria, we're going to see if we got the tech issue fixed. Are you able to jump into the conversation?
Yes. I'll tell you what. I'm just sitting here mind blown, but I would love Sheriff Washington, if you could touch on this. We get a lot of calls when the riots break out. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of frustration that goes on, and it just goes through the roof. And we sit here and we try to explain what is going on. But from your perspective, when we feel like we're not getting heard, and we feel like there needs to be an outbreak, and we feel like, you go after the police, but you don't want to go after the wrong ones. Can you talk to us a little bit about, from your perspective, when it gets so hot and when we have to answer the question and answer the call, what do we do when we feel like we can't do anything but explode?
So thanks for asking that. I think if we in law enforcement and the judicial system and legislators and everybody else, if we get in front of these issues and do the things that we know to do, as we talk about police reform and not necessarily taking weapons away from the police, but putting ourselves in position to be able to understand mental illness more and be able to understand things that are going on in our society, and having additional training about what do we do. I think if we do that more, we don't let the citizens get to a point where they're just going to explode, and I think that happens because they feel like they're just not being heard. And it happens over and over and over again. It seems like nothing is happening to call bad officers out, to be able to add additional training so that we know how to deal with situations. When it seems like none of that stuff is happening on our end, and the citizens aren't being heard on their end, then the explosion happens. So I think we have to do better in law enforcement as it relates to those things I talked about. And if the citizens,
I appreciate your comment. I'm sorry.
Sure. And I've just said, if the citizens understand that's what we're doing, then I think we help each other.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, because once I look at the situation, the law, it takes so long. It just takes so long for us to get out in front of it, and everybody's ready to explode. Today I was on a call, and a woman was driving, and she got pulled over, and the first thing she wanted to do was just put her hands up on the top of the steering wheel. And it's just so scary. We have a lot of men calling in today, but a lot of women are having this feeling. We're talking about the men a lot, but these women are just as afraid. And you put on top of that men, police officers with women out here. It's just really hard. So I appreciate your conversation, but it is really some kind of conversation we have to have about what can we do immediately, and what can we do long term, Chris?
So one other thing about that is that you're absolutely right. When we do the things that we know are wrong and we deal with them immediately, and the public we're not rushing to judgment. We just know when you're putting your knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes and they're saying they can't breathe, you're killing them. We don't need 3 or 4 days to figure that out. You just don't.
Right.
And as I called it, murder immediately. And some of the other respectable law enforcement leaders called it murder immediately. We have to do that in that. And I'm glad that city, although it did happen still, the chief of police called it murder immediately. And we're able to arrest that person. So I think when we do those kind of things, we show to the public, we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to get this stuff done. and we know what it is, and we see what it is, and we act accordingly.
Yeah,
we're so grateful, so grateful for your perspective today. We do have a couple callers that we didn't get to, and we're just about at the end of our show. I just want to ask you, Sheriff Ray, is there anything else? Literally 30-second soundbite. Is there anything else? Any other action that we can take because it affects all of us, even if it doesn't affect us directly? It
does. In 30 seconds, and I hate to even say this, but I have to say it. Over and over again. I have to say it to my sons. I have to say it to my nephews and other people and my friends and family. You know, we have to be at a place where we just have to comply. We have to save our own selves. I tell my sons all the time, don't try to fight the police. We can do that and get home safely to me. Whatever they're saying to you, if you think you were wronged, go with it, get home safely, so I can deal with it tomorrow, the next day, and I'm going to deal with it. And so it's unfortunate that we have to say that to our children, but I don't want to fight the battle and my son is dead, because he kept asking and he kept asking it, and it was his right. And now that rogue police officer kept getting angry and more angry and more angry, and then my son is dead, and I got to deal with it, but he's dead. I'd rather him, okay, sir, yes, sir, whatever, with what you need. And get home to me and tell me how disrespected he was, and I'll deal with it. So
absolutely,
that's just what we have to do. That's just what we have to do.
We are so thankful for you for being our guest today, Sheriff Washington. The
Thank
callers,
you so much.
We apologize we couldn't get to all of you. You've been listening to We Got Issues, and sometimes it's light, sometimes it's heavy. This is a heavy, heavy topic, you guys. Be involved in your community and policing in your community. It is clear that reform is needed and necessary. Pay attention to us every day right here, 6 to 7 p.m. Follow us at theforceoffriendship.com. Thanks for tuning in with Caterina, Sabrina, Crisette, and Gloria on We Got Issues. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
9:10 a.m. The Superstation. Thank you. Thank you.
So much. All right. Thank you all. So happy.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Unmute, Ray. Unmute.
Am I muted?
No, he's not muted. I can hear him. I hear you great.
Am I here?
Yes, I hear you. Ray, I hear you.
Am I here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. Good
Thank you.
All
right.
Thanks,
all right.
Ray.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a show. I mean, it was a show. I'm glad we pivoted. I'm glad we shifted. The audience is just,
they needed it too.
Yes.
What I wanted to say to Sheriff Ray is, it's like, just do what they ask you to do. They get angrier and angrier. The thing is, they start out being angry. They're mad because of the color of our skin. Just because they're looking at us, they're mad. And why it just turns my stomach is we're just penalized because of the color of our skin, for starters.
And Sabrina, the other thing is, you would think, and this is another thing that's just mind-boggling. You would think the biggest court case that's going on right now is because a Black man got killed. You would think every single officer is watching and saying, we got to be very careful. I mean, I'm just so surprised that they like, so what? We don't care. We don't kill some more.
10 minutes away.
Down the street.
10 minutes away. You guys, before our audience leaves, Dante Wright had a 2-year-old and the mother of his child. And there's a cash app. I mean, you know what? These are our sisters. These are our brothers. This is family. And so somebody sent it to me. I want to pass it on to you guys. Her cash app is $hubby98. I don't know if we can run this around on the screen, but it's $HUBBY98. Hubby98. $Hubby98. That will go directly to China, which is his child's mother, his girlfriend. And, when we don't know what else to do, doggone it, send a card, send some money, send something to let her know she's not alone. That's
Right.
it right there. And so, Caterina, thank you for pivoting. Thank you, Crisette, for getting our new best friend, Chef Ray, on with us. I do feel a little better that there is an officer who understands our plight, who's doing the right thing. But we need police reform, and we need it fast.
Yes, and we need to stay involved. So I'm so glad that everybody stayed in, that everybody participated, that you guys in your chat, you told your truths. I appreciate it. It takes transparency to tell your pain, to tell the stories, to tell the reality. We have to stay vigilant. You know, some of you were talking about the TV shows that you've watched or the movies that you've showed so that people can stay aware. However we stay aware, whether because you're great at news or because the movies do it or because of the conversation or because of the relative. I mean, this is just absolutely so real, and it's raw. It's real and it's raw and it's every day. I mean, just down there in Tennessee, you know, it's just right
Today.
now.
That's today.
Today,
That's
today.
today.
Someone already died and they're waiting for the reviews of the other person. So it is very, very serious, very, very challenging. And we must keep the conversation going. We must keep the conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think the voting issue doesn't have anything to do with this,
Right.
we're wrong. So
Right.
it's all connected. We have to vote with our dollar. It just makes a difference.
Hey, did you guys see that Will Smith and the director, they withdrew the move that you know what? Money talks. Okay. Money talks. And so, I mean, you know, you feel bad for the Blacks that live in Georgia because it is going to affect them, but it's kind of like, you know, do you not remove money because you don't want to affect the Black people that are there? Or do you say the bigger picture is, you know, Georgia made those new legislative laws, and so we're going to have to, you know, fight back the best way we can, and that's with removing dollars.
Yep.
Right.
It really is. It even in the biblical narrative, you see that there's collateral damage. Unfortunately, good people lose out too. But you gotta stand for justice. Period. The end. And that's another talk show. We got issues, and we got a lot to talk about here. Y'all have been on. I mean, we got a topic for tomorrow, and we hope that the news does not change our topic again.
Right.
So make sure you tune back in here, y'all, and we will see you tomorrow right here. Love y'all.
Guys, tell a friend.